Luke Williams, a Sheffield-based self-employed estate agent, underscores the power of competition in maximising property values. His strategy involves aggressive pricing, professional marketing and personalised service to create urgency amongst buyers and sellers. Aiming for quality over quantity, Luke ensures a successful, efficient process while delivering top-notch results. And in this conversation, he emphasises the importance of creating the competition when selling a property. He believes that competition is key to maximising value of a home when it goes to market. Luke suggests that human psychology plays a significant role in this process, with people naturally desiring what's in demand. So Luke, what is that one thing that truly maximizes the value of someone's home when they go to sell their property?
I think the main importance is creating competition. So it starts from as soon as you obviously put your property on the market, and there's a lot of human psychology involved with this process, and it starts from when you're a young child, I suppose. The main thing, or the main way to kind of compare it to, is when you're first a child and another kid has a toy, for example, you immediately want that other toy off that other child. It's human nature to want something that's in demand. And I think that resonates through anything that you purchase throughout life, or anything that you go for throughout life. If there's an element of competition there with other buyers, then it makes it a lot quicker process, obviously, for somebody to actually purchase that item, but also creates an urgency and involves people to want to obviously pay potentially a higher amount for that property or item or what have you. So when it comes down to actually selling property, the way that I work, and I'm kind of giving it away for other agents that are in my area, but the way that I work is to create quite an aggressive pricing strategy, which may be at the lower end of the guide valuation, but then that is used to obviously get people through the door as quickly as possible, and to make sure that when we get people through the door, they have the urgency to put offers on the table straight away. So if we pair that with obviously the marketing that we do, and the professional marketing, photography, videography, which, as you will have seen, do quite a lot of, it creates the perfect storm to create that competition. And the first 2 to 4 weeks of selling a property are fairly golden. As the further you get down the line, past that 4-week point, that's when it becomes more difficult to achieve the best price on that property.
Yeah. Why? What are the benefits for a seller that now has, say, 10 buyers visiting that property on, say, a 2-hour open day? What is the benefit for the seller?
So I don't tend to use actual open houses. Still use block viewing days, but they still have separate appointments. I think it's a better experience for the buyer themselves. But the way that we work, obviously, with those block viewing days, it creates urgency with the buyers to put an initial offer forward quicker if they're interested in the property, because if they know another 5-6 people are coming on the same day, they know they've got to act quickly. So instead of dragging it out over a week, 2 weeks of having sporadic viewings on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we can get them all done at the same time. It speeds the whole sales process up, and it gives my clients and vendors more choice of buyer, because it's not always your top figure. Obviously, we're trying to achieve that, but we also want somebody who's in the best buying position. So ideally a cash buyer or somebody with lesser chain. And if we can do that, it ensures that there's less likelihood of it falling through further down the line. Because if you've got a long chain of 4 or 5 properties, there's a lot more that can go wrong. So that's one of obviously the main benefits of having multiple people through the door in a shorter space of time, is that it gives vendors choice.
Yeah. I was going to ask you that. So what happens, like if the seller is not in a rush and you're getting offers for them very quickly?
Well, I mean, the thing is that if you're putting your property on the market and you're actively wanting to sell the property and move on to your next chapter, new house, what have you, then obviously we don't want to rush the process, but you want to do it in when a property comes to market. There's a bit of a buzz about the property. It's new. People see it pop up on the Rightmove and Zoopla alerts. They see it across my social media. So you want to strike while the iron's hot in that sense. And the longer you wait to get people booked in, there's a happy medium with it. Obviously, you don't want to tie it all up within 3-4 days, but you don't want to let it to drag on too long. So the sellers that I work with, I want them to be on board and serious about selling, because I don't want to waste anybody's time who's coming through the door to purchase that property, because it's one of their biggest purchases in their life, one of the biggest assets they'll ever have. So the people that I work with are serious. I don't tend to work with vendors who are just testing the market, because I don't think it helps anybody in the process.
Yeah, and do you know what? Look, so everything you're saying, by the way, I know I'm sort of like asking you a few devil's advocates questions, but I share the same opinion and ethos as you. So
yeah,
when sellers have said to me in the past, yeah, but I don't want to tie it up really quickly. And I'm like, no, I'm going to market the property for 2 weeks before I allow anybody in. And then I'm going to do, like you say, for example, the block viewing, couple of hours. Everybody's got an opportunity to come and see the property and be shown around concierge style, so they can get a really good feel for the property themselves. But my point is that if the property's been priced correctly, the buyer knows that they have got serious competition and they have to act fast. They put their best foot forward immediately. And they also know before they put an offer in the position of the seller. If the house is perfect for the buyer will wait 6-7 months. They will wait. And the reason they'll wait is because they know that there were 7-8 other people that they were competing with for this property. So if everybody else wants it, the buyer really wants it. So, and if it's their dream home, they will wait, providing it's professionally managed, like you say. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as long as people are kept in the loop with the process, they're not just left open-ended and they're given regular updates throughout that conveyancing process. I think at the end of the day, as long as they know where they stand, they can make plans for when they do actually eventually get into that property. I think the main issue I come up against is when vendors think, well, I've not found anything to purchase, so buyers surely aren't going to wait that long for me to find something. So why don't I just wait until I find something and then put it on the market? And it's probably the worst. Probably the worst thing you can do. I always say it's a bit of a chicken and the eggs situation. Do you put your house on first, or do you find something first? I'll always say put it on first, your own property on first, because at least then you're in a proceedable position for the property that you're going for, and it puts you as a way more attractive buyer on the other side. So
exactly,
that's probably the main one I come up against.
Yeah, and you know what? And I completely agree with you as well, right? So basically, what you're saying is you create the competition, you professionally manage the situation in terms of when there's offers coming in, so you don't get involved in bidding wars, but you more look at best and final scenarios. So people put their best foot forward from day one, week one. But equally, those buyers, is what you're saying, is will understand exactly where the seller is trying to achieve, what the seller wants and where they go. So again, to your point, which is it's not always the highest bid that wins. It can be the actual buyer that perfectly is positioned to match what the seller wants. But the reason you're saying for a seller not to wait to put their place on the market is because what if they find their dream home and they're not even on the market? The agent for their dream home ain't going to give them a chance.
Yeah.
So if they're now sitting there at a period where they have got to exchanging contracts, their sale has a mortgage offer on it for their buyer, all the conveyancing's done, that's it. It's literally just waiting to press the button to exchange contracts. That, in many respects, is better than having a first-time buyer that doesn't even have a mortgage offer yet, that may have not even spoken to a mortgage broker yet. So I love that, mate. I absolutely love that. And it's, you know, look, I mean, if somebody said to me, and I've said it before on other podcasts that I've recorded so far, is what's my opinion? I always say price. That's what I say.
Yeah.
You've actually articulated it better by saying creating competition. There's one agent that I know in South London, and they do something very similar to you, but I absolutely love it because it sets the precedent of what's going to happen in the future. And ultimately, you're representing your seller's best interests. And if it's not set up correct, like you said, a viewing here, a viewing there, a viewing here, the buyers aren't going to trust the agent that's saying there's loads of interest. Well, where is it? I can't see it. Where's the interest? I don't like you already because you're an estate agent. So again, it's you know, so whereabouts are you from?
Sheffield.
Right. So is that is that you're a Yorkshireman?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
they're even more skeptical up here.
Exactly. Do you know what I mean? So again, it's like you're even more disliked than maybe a Londoner is to another Londoner. So again, I absolutely think it's spot on. A quicker process. So when are you saying that when you need the survey to be booked in by a certain time? I know the buyers are out of control a little bit when surveys are getting booked in by a lender, but you saying that you need a survey to be booked in at a certain time. You need them to make sure their solicitor is actually playing the game, you know, like with
I mean, the obviously the process of actually tying the sale up is where we create the competition, but that follows through all the way through the process to the conveyancing, getting surveyors in, and being on top of that process. So obviously, being self-employed, I've not got a big team behind me that deals with everything else. I take on a smaller amount of clients and deal with the sales progression myself to ensure that I'm on top of that as well. We also try to obviously navigate buyers and sellers to the recommended solicitors that I go to, just because it's easier for me to manage the process because I've got that working relationship with them anyway. And it's just, like you said, the longer a conveyancing process goes on for, there's more likelihood of it falling through because people's circumstances change. People can just change their mind. I had one recently. We got all the way to the end of agreeing a completion date and didn't hear anything from the buyer for 8 weeks. Just nothing. Ghosted us completely. So it does happen, but it's making sure that you're over that process to mitigate the risk, and that's all we can do at the moment until the conveyancing process is kind of reformed in this country, which we'll not get into.
Yeah, and that probably will never happen as well, unfortunately, but although it should. But I think going to your point there, you know, like one thing I love what you just said was about being ghosted by a buyer for 8 weeks, right? The reason I love what you've just said is because most agents would never have ever said what you just said, because they will think that they would create this persona of the sun shining out their backside, and they get nothing wrong. Yet you completely understand that, and so when you're putting offers forward, you probably know your buyer better than the buyer knows themselves to know whether they actually are going to go through with a completion, as opposed to, which can happen, like you say, where a buyer just disappears. I had the same thing once. This buyer disappeared on me, and I was like, you know, I'd called. She had not picked up. I'd emailed, whatever. And then she suddenly popped back in the office and went, yeah, I'm ready to do the deal. I was like, where have you been? What do you mean? What do you mean?
A little bit.
You're ready to do the deal? Because I'm so sorry, I've gone and sold the flat. What? Yeah. You've sold it, mate. If I don't know where you are and you're not answering my calls and your solicitor won't speak to me, and I'm like, well, all right, fine. I can only assume that either you've gone missing or you're dead. That's it.
Yeah.
So I've sold it to someone else. And then basically what had happened was she had found another property and then wanted to go through with that. But of course, that went tits up. Still needed a property, and then tried to quickly come back in on this one. And I was like, no, mate, not even letting you nowhere near. Now I know that you ain't going anywhere near my cellar at all. No. You're a waste of time. But yeah, where would you, so self-employed, right? I'm asking the question, where do you think the industry is going as a whole? So at the moment we've got your corporate, your independents, and your self-employed. I'm personally seeing a big shift towards the self-employed model, but I don't know what your thoughts are.
I think that there's always going to be a place for high street agents, corporate or independent. I think the self-employed route is getting very, very popular at the moment, just because of the freedom and flexibility that agents can have, and also the level of service that they can provide by doing less volume but more quality service and listings in general. That's the main reason why I went into it. I've been running through EXP my business for just short 2 years. Before that, I've been on both sides of the fence. I was an independent high street agent, and then latterly I was at Purple Bricks. So I've seen the online side of things come and go. Obviously, as everyone knows, it's kind of not panned out as well as it could have done. But I think that's a telltale sign of what kind of level of service sellers want. They want to be looked after by one person. They want that single point of contact. They want to feel valued. And I think when somebody starts to go down the route of, as a volume agency, just putting numbers on the board, that's where it all comes crashing down, because you get more complaints, more things go wrong, and sellers are just one of a number. And that was my main thing when I went self-employed. I was like, I want to work with, I only ever have 5 to 10 properties live at once, no more than that, because I want to be able to do all the viewings myself. I want to be able to answer the phone to all buyers and sellers at the same time. And it worked. The level of feedback and the positive reviews I get and stuff is just kind of reinforcing it to me that that's the route to go down moving forward.
Yeah, totally. And I love the fact that you're saying 5 to 10 properties live at any one time, which means, like you say, you can keep the service levels high, but also when it comes to, you're not hiding from the truth. And the truth generally is creating competition, the price that creates competition the right way. And because you're not got KPIs over your head, and because you're comfortable in your own skin, and you're not having to be all things to all people, that obviously is working very well. Because ultimately, as I say, elite level agents are interviewing sellers just as much as that seller thinks they're interviewing the agent. And
absolutely,
yeah. And this is so refreshing, mate, to have this, to be speaking with you, to be speaking to the other guys I'm interviewing as well, that are also of slightly different opinions, but every single elite level agent is pretty much saying the same thing. They all believe there's one thing that actually truly maximizes the value of someone's home, but then the trickle down of where they go next is very much the same. Elite level of negotiation, understanding things like consumer psychology and real sales, understanding that actually, do you know what, you're more of a counselor or somebody that has to have massive levels of empathy for someone else's journey, understanding that the client is actually the seller, not the buyer, understanding that the seller has the right to say, do you know what, actually, I'm pulling out, I don't want to sell my house anymore. And for the agent to go, that's not a problem. Yeah, it's great, mate.
I think a lot of agents sometimes lose sight of the fact of who they're actually representing, because they're so hell-bent on trying to keep that sale together, and obviously get the commission at the end of the day, that if a sale is not in the best interest of their vendor, they should be advising them on that and looking at another route. There's a few agents that work through EXP that are really good at doing that. That if something's not specifically right, they would rather walk away from the commission and try and find a new buyer than try and push the wrong buyer through.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. The level of integrity it takes to be able to do that, because that's taking money out of your own pocket to be in the best interest of your client. And that just, well, the particular agent I'm thinking about will stand him in good stead moving forward with other vendors, because of the reviews and the word of mouth positivity that he will get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, completely. And also the same is true for the agent. So I don't know if you've experienced in the past, but where I've inherited, come into an office as a sales manager, inherited property that our agency should never have taken on. And then I've tried my best to persuade and mold and shape the seller into thinking differently, and they haven't. Yeah. And in the end, I've said, right, listen, if I can't show you the facts and I can't have a conversation with you, then I'm disinstructing myself. Yeah. You can't say that, John, you're just an estate agent. I was like, no, I can just say that. And I just did, because what's the point of me having your property on that I can't sell? There's nothing I can do is going to sell this home. And you wouldn't want me as your estate agent if I can't actually have these conversations with you. But the fact that you just said that means I'm definitely now disinstructing myself, because I think it's so important. You're dead right. You're in a relationship with the seller, and that may be husband and wife, two couples, and you're in a relationship with them for as long as, from the day you actually meet them to the day you put the property on the market, to the day you then go through the individual milestones that you guys have set, to the point you actually exchange, to the point you actually deliver keys to the buyer, from cradle to grave. And so again, it has to be right. And the relationship between agent and seller has to be watertight. The relationship, in my opinion, between buyer and seller has to be very good. The buyer has to think that the seller isn't the greedy twat. So going back to your point about creating competition, I completely agree, because otherwise sellers look greedy, not the agent. It's the seller that looks greedy if it's been overvalued. So there's so many things at play. And just off the basis of, John, my main effort in the beginning is to create competition. That is the thing that actually is the glue, I believe, that keeps the entire transaction together 9 times out of 10.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
Mate, it's been, I don't know how long, 27 minutes now. You've been honestly fantastic. I love your Yorkshire attitude. No bullshit, no fluff, no flowers around words. It's like straight in, here you go. But that's perfect, because that's exactly what sellers, that's exactly what sellers need to hear, is the what you've just said then. Honestly, mate, I think it's great. And seeing your stuff online as well, again, is beautiful too. So
thanks, appreciate it.
No, thank you for coming on.
All good. Right. Is that all good?
Mate, end the podcast.